Today, we've got Dale Smith Thomas. She is a native of Eupora, Mississippi. She's a graduate from Mississippi State University, and she's known internationally as the Hope Doctor. That's something we can all use a little bit more of. So welcome, Dale.
Oh, hey, Rebecca. I love hearing that Mississippi music right before I came on the air. It's just so awesome.
Well, we enjoy having people back or come back home and join us and also hear that they're up and out there doing some good things. But I have to know, Dale, how did you become known as the Hope Doctor? Because I hear there's a special story connected to it.
Well, I define hope as helping other people excel, and that's how I define it. And many years ago, when I first started speaking, I got a letter back from a young woman who had been in my audience telling me that the message that I had shared, the life principles that I had shared, had really changed her life. And she said, "Your name should read Dale Smith Thomas, PhD, the Hope Doctor." And now all these years later, when I do a lot of work in healthcare, I thought, well, I don't have a medical degree, but the Hope Doctor works because every single day we all need some hope.
Absolutely, we do. And I think we need more doctors out there spreading a little bit of hope around. Why is it so important, Dale, that we still believe in hope or look for it in the everyday?
Well, I have done a lot of research, Rebecca, and actually I attended the UC Berkeley, actually online, the science of happiness. And what we found out in the last 20 years, that people that choose optimism or hope or faith or anything positive, they live 10 years longer, they're healthier, they keep their jobs, everything about their life is more enriched simply by using optimism as a strategy. We always heard that the glass is either half full or half empty. Well, my version is the glass is refillable, and every single day you get up and choose what you're going to fill your glass with. Are you going to choose to find something happy, something positive? And yes, we've all been through challenges and struggles, and especially through COVID. I mean, I had my share of struggles through COVID, but every single day, if we stop and just say, hey, let's find one good thing, exactly what you're doing, Rebecca, find one good thing, that changes everything in our lives. It really does. It ripples out.
It seems so simple, yet it's not always that easy, right? You say that you're a self-proclaimed, unapologetic optimist. I have to know, do you run up against those that are unapologetic pessimists and try to bring you down, Dale?
Absolutely. Because, I know you'll agree with me, negative is normal. You don't have to search for the negativity. You can just turn on your television, or usually if you're just out having a conversation with someone and you say, how are you doing? Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. And they start in this negativity rant. I mean, how many times do you actually say hello to somebody and say, how are you? And they go, I am so incredible today. I am just fantastic. We have to search for the positive, and we have to be hope dealers. We have to deal that hope, because negative is normal, and we can be the ones spreading that joy, spreading that light. And, I say this, people ask me all the time, well, what do you do with the negative people? And I tell them this: if you will practice this positivity, this optimism, they'll get so sick of you, they'll go away on their own.
You know what? That's actually really good advice, and you could probably turn that back around on yourself, because Dale was going to say, there you can wake up and you can be in a good mood, and it can feel like things are, halfway going in the way that you want them. But then all it takes is maybe one car to cut you off, or one bad headline, or it could be even worse, one bad doctor's report from your medical doctor, or the loss of someone that sends you. It's so easy to spiral into negativity, even when you're on top of the optimism mountain, than to climb back up there. So how do we, I guess, U-turn faster, if that's, because the negative thoughts are going to come?
Yes, they are. And I think that is such a great question. Thank you for that question. First of all, we have to pay attention, and we have to really be in the present moment, because so many of us are on autopilot. I ask my audiences around the world, how many of you drove here and don't even remember getting here? Because we are on autopilot, and we have this automatic habit responses. So the first step is to pay attention and be in the moment and catch yourself. And once you catch yourself, then it becomes to be more of a habit to lean toward the positive than the negative. But you have to remember, if you've been on the negative side of the street, a long time, it may take a little while for you to retrain yourself. It's just like going to the gym. It's like a muscle that we have to retrain. And, like you said, I teach this and do this for a living, but especially during COVID, I found myself going, oh my gosh, I was feeling all of that. I lost my father. As you can imagine, I was no longer traveling and doing what I do. I lost my father-in-law. And then my son got married in the middle of the pandemic. And I'm like, what is going on? But I just had to step back and say, stop asking the wrong questions. We ask, why is this happening to me, which usually never has an answer, and ask, what can you do right now? And what you can do at that moment is find one thing that you can be grateful for.
And sometimes you have to do it with gritted teeth, and that's okay. At least you're trying to put out the positive energy. I remember when I had my first daughter, Dale, I had a good friend tell me, when you're up late at night and she's crying and you're frustrated, sing "Jesus Loves Me, This I Know," even if you have to do it through gritted teeth. And I remember going, "Jesus loves me." But then you just can't say,
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a way to just sort of shift it out, and then you laugh at yourself, and you recognize that this too sort of shall pass. I was passing through your social media, which you put up the best inspirational quotes, and I love one that said, "Most of the problems in life are because of two reasons. We either act without thinking, or we keep thinking without acting." And I thought, man, there's a lot of wisdom in that. Can you break that apart for us, Dale?
Absolutely. First of all, we've already addressed that. We're on automatic pilot. And so it's so easy to respond like we've always responded. If someone cuts you off in traffic and, instead of just screaming at them, bless them, bless them instead of screaming at them. Maybe they're on their way to the hospital. Maybe something is happening in their life that we don't know about. So be aware of that. And then if you have a dream in your heart, if there is something that you feel like you're supposed to do, don't put it off. And especially in speaking encouragement to other people, and I especially encourage women to do this. I'm so excited I know we'll talk about me coming back to Eupora this weekend, but I encourage women to speak life to each other. And, some women say, well, I just don't know how they're going to respond to it. Well, guess what? That's none of your business. Your business should be speaking life to someone else. Act on those thoughts. Pick up that phone, make that phone call, send that text. Say something positive to somebody today and ripple it out. And if we all did that, everybody's day would be better.
You are coming back to your hometown of Eupora, Mississippi this weekend for the Main Street Association's inaugural Woman to Woman event. Give us a little background about the event.
Well, I was home and they gave me a call and they said they really wanted to do something for the women in the community. And believe it or not, I have traveled around the world more than once. This will be my very first time back in my home county speaking to my home people. So I know it's going to be an emotional time. My mother's coming, my daughter-in-law is coming from Nashville with me. So I am excited to see many faces, and I'm going to share the principles that took me from that environment. I loved where I grew up, but I grew up negative, and I grew up scared to follow my dreams and scared to speak up. And I am just going to share some messages, some practical things with the women there in my hometown that we can leave that day and put them into practice and just celebrate who we are and live our best life.
For those of us who aren't good at geography, Dale, where is Eupora on the Mississippi map?
It's in between Starkville and Winona on Highway 82, in between and 55 and Starkville. So it's very easy to get to. We even have, off the exit now. Didn't have it when I grew up. We have a McDonald's, and my mother informed me this week that Jack's opened. So we've got a new fast food restaurant. And it was so cute when I started talking to Lynn and the Main Street Association. They said, we're having it at the Civic Center. I'm like, really? Well, I didn't know there was a Civic Center. She said, it's the National Guard Armory. I'm like, okay, I got it.
You got it, but that was such a Mississippi response. Hey, Dale, can you hang with us a little bit longer here on Good Things? All righty, we got more with the Hope Doctor coming up next. She's a native of Eupora, and she's coming back home for the first time after being a world traveler and being known as the International Hope Doctor. And we're happy to have you back. On our text line, Dale, Greg in Nettleton said you should put on your refrigerator, attitude of gratitude sets the altitude for living. And I thought you would appreciate.
Wow. Thank you, Greg. And you know what, you're reaching me and connecting me, Rebecca, back to some of the most special people in my life. I just got a text from my friend Rick, who's in Starkville, said he's listening to us right now. So hello to all my Mississippi people. It's awesome.
And I think, Mississippians, as much as we are like resourceful, we are to the bone hopeful. And a lot of times, we try to find the good in every situation. And particularly whenever it's talking about our small communities, which I know you're coming back to Eupora for the inaugural Women's to Women's event that will support the Eupora's Main Street Association. We really encourage people to support their main streets here on good things. But tell us a little bit about growing up in Eupora. You mentioned there's now like a civic center and there's some more restaurants, so it's obviously grown since yeah. But what was it like growing up in small town?
I grew up 10 miles out in the country from Eupora, so it was always a big deal to, as I say, go into town. And it was just a few months ago, my mother finally got internet, and every time I would come home before the last few months, I would be driving into Eupora and parking in the McDonald's parking lot. Sorry, McDonald's, I was stealing your internet in order to get my email. But I remember going into town to Main Street and shopping with my mother at TWL. And none of you listening probably remember that store. And it was like this dime store. And then there was a beautiful little shop in town called the Green Apple. And so it was just a big deal to go into town. And even still now, my mother is 85 and she doesn't get around very well. But when I'm home, I put her in the car and we go into town. Now, she may sit in the car while I go in to Piggly Wiggly or wherever, but she gets to ride into town with me, and she will be coming to the event on Saturday. So I was a head cheerleader there at Eupora High School. So some of my fondest memories were, during the football games and just all of the love that was always there in our town and in our county.
One of the other quotes that I love of yours, Dale, I actually shared on our SuperTalk social media, was that you said you were too smart, speaking of whomever, to be the only thing standing in your way. And so I feel like that's such a great message, too, for those that have hopes and dreams, even thinking of opening up a small restaurant or a shop on their, in their main street, or going for whatever the big idea it is that they have. But in your own journey, where did you recognize that maybe you were the only thing standing in your way of living the life you wanted?
Oh, that is absolutely 100% positively the truth. And I think I was 30 years old when I finally started to realize that nobody else's opinion of me had to be my reality. Because you have to imagine, this is kind of a strange profession to have out, in the world talking to people. And no one that knew me growing up, maybe a few, thought that I would ever do anything like this. But you know what, Rebecca, I found something the other day in a box. And it was a notebook I had in high school and college where I'd written all these things down. And there was some part of me that always wanted to be a writer, but I was too scared to follow that. And then my piano teacher growing up was Cheryl Pruitt, who went on to be Miss America. She is the reason I came to Nashville. I was on the road with her. So watching someone else follow a dream also encouraged me to follow mine. So I'm going to tell those of you that are listening to us right now, and I believe you're here for a reason, if there is a dream there, find someone that you can talk it out with that will pour fuel on your fire, not put it out with a fire extinguisher. And so many people say, well, why would you think that you could do that? Well, why not you? Because I believe that the dream has been given to you, it's there for a reason, and you need to pursue it.
Oh, I love that. I know part of your story is the fact that you pursued an education or a dream of going to Mississippi State. And too, on your social media, I see after all these years, you're still a Bulldogs fan for sure. So what did you study there?
Oh, girl, this is so hilarious because I was not following my true path. I was not following the urging in my heart. I have a degree in physical education from Mississippi State University, and I tell audiences around the world I was actually shopping for a husband, but I thought I would get a teaching degree at the same time. And so I have a degree in physical education, which is hilarious because if you see me running, call the cops because somebody's after me. But now it's just, it's come full circle. I'm coaching for life. And I even have my audiences say, yes, coach to me from the stage because it's just pretty comical. But I have a degree in phys ed from Mississippi State.
Well, it's what helped keep you fit and physical for all the work that you have done. And I know part of that
That's
is
right.
finding the stamina to write two of your books, or your two books, should I say. So you finally saw that dream come to pass. So what are your titles of your books?
The first one was called From Standing in the Shadows to Solo in the Spotlight. Exactly what we just talked about, Rebecca. I stood in the shadows and watched everybody else follow their dream, thinking that I wasn't valuable enough or smart enough or talented enough to follow my own. And that's just that negativity, and that's that dream stealing voice talking to you. And when I finally stepped into my personal spotlight, which was different, and all of our spotlights are different, then I began to explore that and expand that. And then the second book was called Good Morning Gorgeous, Building Your Gorgeousness from the Inside Out. And that one has been a true experience because the way the title came about, I was standing talking to a group of women in Arkansas. And I just said, hey, off the top of my head, hey, let's check and see how you guys got up this morning. What was your attitude this morning? How many of you got up and said, good morning, gorgeous? And these women are looking at me like, have you lost your mind? But there was a man in the back that went, hey, I did. I went, oh, of course you did. So I started challenging women. Start to find something gorgeous about yourself. It's your soul, it's your spirit. And now I've just released a new book on Kindle. It's a thoughts and ideas and affirmation book. It's just on Kindle right now. It's called Crown Up, meaning the crown of your head, meaning holding the crown of your head up. And I believe crown means confidently respecting our worth now. And I believe we all come to this planet. God sends us here with an invisible crown of self-worth. But when we bow our heads in disrespect to ourselves, that crown falls off. So this is my way of saying, just these are the little short hits. They're little quotes like you just talked about, Rebecca, and little affirmations, because I don't think it takes 1,000 ideas to change your life. I think it just takes one that we put into action.
You mentioned, Dale, that you've traveled the world speaking and hosting your workshops and talking to audiences. This will be your first time coming back home to Eupora to talk in front of the ladies, so I know that will be meaningful and special. But what other stage did you find yourself on, Dale, and you went, holy guacamole, little girl from Eupora, Mississippi is, speaking here?
Well, I was standing on a stage in Macau, just outside of Hong Kong, about to speak to 7,000 people from across Asia. And, I stood in the wings there, and because I've never given my talk the same way twice, because I kind of go with the spirit, I didn't send them a script. And so my interpreter was having a little bit of trouble with my Mississippi accent. And trust me, your mom and them does not translate into any kind of language other than Southern. So as I walked onto that stage that was so huge, and I looked out at that audience of 7,000 people, all from across Asia, and I kind of stick out over there. Not only am I, a tall blonde and Southern, it's a little different for them. I just stood there with so much gratitude to think, I grew up at Route 3, Box 89, Eupora, Mississippi. And then here I was standing in Asia at that moment going, exactly, holy guacamole, Lord help me.
And he did, and he's helping you back home. You will be in Eupora on Saturday, May the 7th for the Woman to Woman event. It starts at 7 p.m. Is that correct? I think it is.
It's a morning thing. It's an 8 o'clock thing. It's 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, well, don't go at 7. You'll miss it. So get up early.
Please don't go at 7. And we're going to have so many great door prizes, and we're going to have cash door prizes. So we're going to be giving away two $250 cash door prizes, along with so many other things. And I'm going to be, we've got 3 other great speakers from the Eupora area, and I want to see everybody there.
Where do we go to get tickets, Dale?
You can contact the Eupora Main Street Association, and they're also all over Eupora at, I believe, Murphy's Drugstore and all types of different places. And you can always reach out to me and I'll direct you.
And you are at Dale Smith Thomas on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, Dale, welcome back home,
Yes.
and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you,
but you guys